All right, everybody. Hello. This is Ray. I talk about comic books with my friend Josh on the internet. We're a part of Neek the Podcast. This is Neek the Pull List Podcast, the show where we talk about the comic books that we've been reading. So, this show, we're just going to jump right into it. We've got a lot to talk about.
A lot. We haven't talked to you guys in a while.
It's been a while, and we're sorry, but sorry, not sorry. We had a lot of life stuff to do, and but we've also been reading a comic books. So you're welcome. We have a lot to talk about. The past, I think, 3 weeks have been pretty dry. Nothing like massive. I mean, since Free Comic Book Day, which was awesome, and I hope you all went and supported your local shops and got your free books. We've been anticipating today for a while. I'm stop alluding to it. Rebirth, DC's Rebirth #1 out today, May 25th. If you're listening to this show, the day after it comes out, which is the 26th. But still, you should have read it by now. And if not, be prepared to turn
Full
this
spoilers.
episode halfway towards the end, because we will be going to full spoiler on DC Rebirth, Justice League 50, and Superman number 52, and probably some of Lois and Clark if you haven't read that. But still, it's all important and it's all like tied together. So if you just want to get caught up in the spiel on what's going on, listen later on into the show. But before we get there, we've also been reading other comic books, believe it or not. Josh, what have you been reading the past few weeks?
I've been reading, I've been catching up on Star Wars. I kind of let that go by the wayside now. Nothing spectacular, nothing I'm going to dive into. Finishing up its current arc right now. Tied in really cool with the annual that they did back before The Force Awakens came out. So a story that was set up like back in November, early December, finally paid off. And that was really, really, really cool to see. That's kind of a little bit of spoiler territory. Read it. It's a really cool payoff. It made the arc better for me. I kind of saw it as a lackluster arc. Of course, you and I picked up Black Panther #2.
Yes, man. I love that story.
It's very quickly becoming. I don't want to jump the gun and say it's one of my favorites because I really loved the #1. Kept that excitement for me. It's different than anything else that's out there right now, and that's what's so important. It's from an actual novelist. I really like that. It feels like poetry almost. The way it's flowing. He's tackling so many social themes in this, just dealing with Wakanda and with the African community and such. He's dealing the LGBT community is playing a nice role in this. The connection that T'Challa has with his sister is very prominent. It's a very well done story so far. I mean, we're only 2 issues in. This is one of the only books where I'm like, I need the next issue now. Like, I want to see where this is going. Tanishi Coates just told us that he is starting his outline for year 2. So it's not just going to be a one and done. He's not just going to do 12 issues and leave it. He's already working on 2017's run. That's really exciting news. And I believe he's bringing in another artist after the first arc also.
Right.
Brian Stelfreeze is going to step away. He'll come back for the 3rd arc, but we're going to have another one there in the middle. I can't remember his or her name off the top of my head.
We'll look it up and we'll add that in. But yeah, that Black Panther is just that whole story. It's just I really think that I can fully say that right now it is my favorite story being told. I love everything else that we're reading, and there's some amazing stuff going on. Don't get me wrong. That's just how good comic books are right now.
It's hard to pick your favorite one in terms of an individualized story.
Absolutely. And that's what I feel. This the individual story itself, removed from everything else. It is my favorite story, and it's just because he does such a good job with this character, and like you said earlier, Wakanda and the issues that it tackles, not only just in the comic book universe, but like in reality. Those issues, they're communicated so well. But it's also building up a character that we haven't had built like this in a long time, which I really appreciate him doing.
So we haven't had Panther build up in his own solo series in several years, since long before the events of Avengers vs. X-Men, really.
Yep.
They kind of left his story to be told in team books. He filled in the Fantastic Four for a little bit, I believe. Took over for Daredevil for a few issues.
Right.
He was popping in and out, had some limited runs. He hasn't had an ongoing series that's been really solid since Reginald Holden, I believe, did his run for several years on Black Panther. So it's really cool to see him finally getting his due. Of course, that's the big push that Marvel is making this year in terms of the solo book is Black Panther and how he fits into this universe now, into this post-Secret Wars society.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. Like the marketing for this is actually like some of my favorite they've done, period.
I thought it was really going to drop off after issue 1. If anything, it's ramping up.
It's actually the #1 selling comic currently, is what I remember reading.
The first printing of issue 1 sold out within 24 hours.
So the second printing, just about. The second printing went to the second issue went to a second printing just as fast, I think.
I was told by my local shop that if I had not had it in my pull, I would not have gotten it had I not shown up at opening.
Yep.
And they don't, outside of an event comic, aka Secret Wars #1 and #9, they had not had a book like that in a couple of years.
Yeah, and this was the first time I had walked into a store and all of the variants were sold out. That means that people wanted this book so bad they were buying the variant, which is sometimes 50% more than what the book actually costs, if not more than that.
At least.
Yes.
Yeah. No, normally there's a pretty significant markup on those. But Ray.
Yeah. So
you know what's an extremely close second for my favorite story being told in comics right now, which is also only 2 issues in?
I thought that Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde were way more than 2 issues in.
I hate you.
What is it, Josh?
It's Moon Knight.
Moon Knight, yes.
Moon Knight #1. I don't remember if I talked about it on the show. It was really weird. I wasn't sure after reading Moon Knight 1 if I liked the direction it was going to go in. I was like, you can't really judge it off one issue.
Don't spoil the second one yet. Don't spoil it.
I'm not going to spoil it. The first one, I had to reread it once or twice and be like, yeah, okay, I'm all in. He's another guy who hasn't had a solo comic, but it's been a lot longer. It's been probably about 8-9 years since we had a good series. He had a quick run during Marvel Now, and
I was about to say, this is kind of like, to me, this is the first real good one. I mean, there's been some good stuff in the past, but this is like good.
He had an okay run in with the Marvel Now imprint, but it was largely forgettable. When I think Moon Knight, I think the classic Moon Knight. Not classic. I think him from the late 80s, or I think the Bendis run from the mid 2000s, from 2006. Both are very iconic runs for me. Both very good runs that really defined Moon Knight and Mark Spector. The first issue of this from Jeff Lemire throws that out the window. Really kind of turns what you think about Moon Knight and Mark Spector on its head, because it's dealing with his psychosis and with his humanity more than anything.
Right. So it's kind of like an homage to what was written before, but it's like, hey, it's actually, that's what's, I think, fun about this book for me, is that it's so hard to explain to other people. And so it's literally one of those books where when people have asked me, I'm like, go read it. Like, if you can find it, go read it.
Yeah. This is another one that sold out very quickly at my shop.
Did, which I didn't anticipate, honestly. I didn't
either. And people are starting to take notice of this. This is kind of one of the unsung heroes of the Marvel lineup right now, but after 2 issues, there's a lot of anticipation. Issue 3 is going to printing right now. It's coming out next week. Really, really, really excited to see where this goes. Obviously, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to give anything away.
My favorite part of this entire book, can you guess what it is?
I cannot.
The art.
Oh my God, the art is just the art of Moon Knight in Moon Knight comics has always been outstanding. With his fighting style, with how he's basically the closest thing that Marvel has to Batman. Well, in terms of combat.
Now with Nighthawk, that's a little debatable, but hey, we'll talk about that later too.
Okay, but this is just it's so different. There's a little bit of something for everybody in this book. In issue 1, there's the mystical. Deals with God, I can never remember the Egyptian god who raised Mark Spector from the dead. Essentially,
It
I
starts
can
with
never
a
pronounce that
K.
name.
It's like Harun. I don't remember it. Like
Cordellini.
Quarterly. Yes.
And there's, of course, like I said, it deals with his multiple personas, his psychosis. It's tackling the issue that always touched on that. That's always been a core thing of Moon Knight. This really puts that at the forefront and doesn't put combat at the forefront. Really, it puts, is he more Mark Spector or is he more Moon Knight? It brings in his other personas start getting brought into play. He's gone underneath, multiple aliases before. It brings all of that in, like who is the true person inhabiting this body? And two, it takes what was simmering in issue 1 and dials it up to 11. Right. It's really, really cool. God, I cannot gush about this enough. If you're listening to this, and you don't know this about me, I'm a huge Moon Knight fanboy. I love Moon Knight. That's the character I want to see most on the screen in any way, shape, or form. Now that I've gotten all the classic heroes I've grown up with, this is one that I latched onto my senior year of high school, freshman year of college. Really latched onto him, have several volumes of Moon Knight. This has the potential, if it keeps up with the pace the first two have set, could be the defining arc of Moon Knight for the 21st century.
That's really good to know. I mean,
so
I met the artist for that book, Greg
right,
Smallwood.
Right, I was gonna get to that.
Yeah, at Planet Comic-Con. What a nice man! Such a nice young man. And I could not tell him enough how beautiful I thought this book is. Because I am that guy who, if I think a book is beautiful, I will buy it just because I want to see like how it plays out. And there are 2 books that are currently doing that for me, and they're doing it really, really well. And that's the Black Widow book, which I've bragged about several times on this show, and now the Moon Knight book. Both gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Like, they're really well drawn. There are some points even in like the Black Widow book where it's just like, it's literally just a page of art and no words, just the actions speak. The actions that are taking place on the pages speak for what's happening, and it's insane.
Well, and Greg Smallwood, he's no stranger to Marvel and to Moon Knight. No. He actually did the art for the run that was in Marvel Now.
Right. And I remember, because I came across Greg's art earlier on and didn't really know it was him, was when he also did Dream Thief, something that everybody should check out as well. He did the art for that book. And I didn't know it at the time, but when I found out that he also worked on that, I was like, holy crap, this makes complete sense. This guy is amazing.
He's a very big, he's done a lot. He's a big up-and-comer right now, especially in the art world. Like, he's going to blow up. And it's very, very exciting to see him working on this. Like Ray and I always say, the story is just as important as the art and vice versa. You can't have... You can have a great story and have a crappy book still because it doesn't look good, or you can have amazing art and have a terrible book because there's no substance to the story. Yep. When you are fortunate enough to get a book that has both, like Black Panther, like Moon Knight, like Jeff Johns' Dark Side War, it's really special. So those are my top 3 I've been reading. Ray, what have you been into?
Okay, so I kind of sort of mentioned Black Widow just a little bit ago. Been reading Black Widow because I think I said it on the show, or at least I was telling my wife because I was complaining. I was like, I'm giving this Black Widow book one more chance, and if the third one doesn't get me, I'm taking it off my list.
Well, I know you and I have definitely had that discussion.
Yeah, so I definitely read the third one. I was like, I'm keeping it on my list because it's so damn pretty, and it's just
it's Mark Waid, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know if I brought it over here with me, but I really think so. It's a good book. Like, I enjoy looking at this book, and so I'm gonna keep like looking at that book. So the Black Widow, Weavers. I started to tell you about this book, but I didn't. It's Weavers is a really interesting book. The premise is a bunch of gangsters that swallow these spiders that give them powers, and there's there's a bunch of gang turmoil, and it's really, really, really interesting. I remember first seeing the cover art in the back of, I think it was my Power Rangers book, because I think it's a Boom comic. And I looked at this art, and I was like, I hate spiders. I'm terrified of spiders, but I have to know what this is about. And I'm really glad I did. It's like the art is cool. The premise is really, really, really interesting. So definitely check Weavers out if you get the chance. It's different. I can say that it's probably the most different thing out there right now, at least that I've picked up. Also started reading Mockingbird.
Ooh.
I kept seeing that book. You know, I love me some Bobby from Agents of Shield. I love Bobby, and I was like, I'm gonna read that book, and then I just couldn't find it nowhere. But I was I was in Topeka and went to visit our friend up at Astro Kitty, and he takes such good care of me. He had a bunch of number ones that I was missing, including the Moon Knight when I couldn't find it. And so I picked up Mockingbird and Moon Knight, and I started Mockingbird and not disappointed whatsoever. It's so different for this character, and I picked up books 2 and 3 today just because of what I read in number 1 just the other day. I was like, I gotta keep reading this. I think it's a 6-book series, and it's awesome. So if you want for something different, a little weird, because it gets a little weird. I was not expecting weird in a Mockingbird book, but it's weird in a good way. So definitely look that up. Let's see, what else would I be reading? I picked up Nighthawk today.
How is that? How is Nighthawk?
Okay, Nighthawk in one word is brutal. Just you remember you read The Punisher, because we both read The Punisher number 1 that came out.
Yes.
This is that, but with his hands. There are no guns. This dude is brutal.
Is his weapon these hands?
It is these hands. And it's funny you say that. It's a black man. Nighthawk is a black man.
Oh, well,
it's great.
Oops.
But it's so brutal. Like, there is some stuff that's like, there is some nastiness. There's one sequence, I'll just kind of give you a graphic picture of this, where a man is fed either his fingers or somebody else's fingers. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh no. Oh, it happened.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like that. But yeah, I've just been reading a ton of stuff, which is good. It keeps me sane. But I guess we should jump right into the thick of it, because we have 5 books that we have to talk about.
5 big books.
5 big old books that we got to talk about. And
we just talked a lot of Marvel.
Yeah, we did. Why don't
we do a lot of DC? The meat of the show.
This is what you came here for. Let's be honest. This is why you're here. We're going to talk about some DC, Justice League, and Rebirth. My. We have to start with 50. Justice League 50.
So reading this issue last night, I went to the midnight release of Rebirth. Disclaimer. I was debating if I was going to go. I was really tired. I just got back in from vacation like 24 hours before. I had an emergency the night before. I decided to go up there to my shop and go get it. They were shocked to see me. They're like, "Oh, we already pulled it for you." Well, they called me earlier and said, if you come in, we'll give you your whole pull list tonight. Which is really cool. I got Cap number 1. I got a few others. So I got my pull list.
Comics.
Good old Wild West Comics in Arlington. I bought like $45 worth of comics.
Probably for
that's the biggest. That is the biggest haul I think I've ever taken home in one singular day. But in my defense, it was 2 weeks of Fools. Wow. I got home, read it, and I audibly cheered at least 2 or 3 times reading this book. I gasped a few times. You would think I was watching some 60s movie. And I was in the audience. I was freaking out, like trying not to run around the house. I was like, yes. It was everything I wanted in the conclusion and more.
Oh, man. Okay, so I did not go to a midnight release to get this book. I went today. If I work with you, turn off the show right now because you're about to learn one of my secrets. So every Wednesday, I go and run an errand. So I need to go and pick up my comic books is what's happening. And when I get back, if there's a really big comic that I need to read, I have to go and take a bathroom break. So I'm sitting on the toilet in the bathroom reading Justice League 50. Flipping out. And I'm like, I hope nobody walks in here because I'm audibly gasping as well as Josh. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And
the aftermath of this may have been the greatest messages I've ever gotten in our friendship.
So I get to the very end of the epilogue, and I just go, what? And I hear the door. I hear the door.
That
open.
was me. Sound effects and all. That was me.
But the best part is, I hear the door open to the bathroom, and I just freeze. And I'm like, oh shit! I hope they didn't hear me. Oh man, it's so good. Justice League 50 delivered because we kept saying, how are they going to do it? Like we got to 47 and like, all right, how are they going to do it? There's only 3 left. How are they going to do it? And then we got to 48 and it's like, okay, how are they going to do it? We don't know. There's so much to cover. We got the special and we were like, okay, well, that answered a lot of questions. That's cool. Then we got 49 and I was like, oh shit, the next one is the last one. What's going to happen?
I will say we got almost every single question answered.
Every single one.
And then got a whole bunch of new ones thrown out.
Like legitimate. It was like, oh, guess what? You want to find out more? You got to read the next one. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Rebirth came out on the same day. At first, I was a little worried that they were going to put them both out on the same day, but they could not have done this any other way.
No. If Justice League would have come out before Rebirth, even a week before, I would have been really upset. And this is why. Justice League 50 is great. It is legitimately great, but when you read that epilogue, that's when you go, are you... And not even just the epilogue in general. I mean, so we're going to go into full spoiler territory.
All right, so
this is your absolute final opportunity to turn this on before I ruin the whole thing.
Listen to the sound of our voices. This is your chance to leave before we spoil Justice League 50 and start to spoil Justice League Rebirth.
Rebirth is going to be spoiled in this also.
This is what's about to happen. This is full spoiler territory, including Superman number 52. So turn it off now or plug your ears for the next 20, 30 minutes. And then listen to the outro. Okay.
All right,
Josh.
So the whole book was great on its own. And then you got the epilogue. And the epilogue, I mean, could have easily been inserted as part of Rebirth.
Oh, at the very beginning? Yes.
Yes. It could have easily been inserted into the beginning. I was really happy we got that epilogue. But the fallout of the events that happen in number 50, of course, it's the culmination of everything. Grail's plan, we finally see it coming into effect, what she was using Steve Trevor for, and how just malicious she is, how the second it was accidentally said that,
so we have to kind of clear it up a little bit. So everybody's fighting Steve Trevor, which is now full of the anti-life equation, basically like a mini version of Darkseid, essentially. And Superwoman, all of a sudden the baby comes back again, and you're like, oh shit, that's right, there was a baby. She had a baby in the middle of all of this, and I'm like, that's really gross, but okay. And this baby is the son of Alexander Luthor. They have been like teasing that all along, and I was like, oh, well, that's not as cool as I was thinking.
If you were really eagle-eyed, you probably figured it out an issue or two ago.
Probably.
Because I basically thought that also. I started thinking it during 48, if not 49.
Right.
Definitely had that inkling. I might even say I know I didn't say it on the show. I might have said it to you.
I think you said to me, yeah.
It was underwhelming, but it's just like it was the fact that it was underwhelming was overpowered by the fact that there was so much going on that was almost shoehorned in as an afterthought at first. I was like, oh crap, she has a baby, and then what happens the second that baby comes on the scene? You're like, oh shit!
Yeah, so pretty much this baby just starts eating everybody's powers, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like literally just
Now that was awesome.
It was so cool. I just did not expect it because they were like, this baby's gonna change everything.
I was like, you know what, Jeff Johns has earned the right to just go off the rails for a little bit.
So this literally proves my point that babies suck your soul, all of your power when you become a parent. So more power to you parents, because that's what babies do in real life. Good job on you, Jeff Johns, for pointing that out. But yeah, so they start to steal the powers from all of the Justice League. The god of apocalypse power, the god of strength, the god of gods, everything. This baby starts to just eat them. Of course, Batman is still on the Mobius chair. And like Josh was getting into, he was like, oh, they were like, Batman, how do we beat her? You know everything, literally right now, because you're sitting on the Mobius chair. And he's like, well, the secret is that Steve Trevor is not actually the first man to step foot on the island of Amazons. And he says that, loud enough for everybody to hear it, of course. And so Grail is like,
Bruce can't whisper.
Nope.
Unless he's confronting a bad guy.
Yep. And
so they should have had Luthor ask.
Of course, because then Grail's like, what? Okay. So she murders Superwoman.
That was a beautifully done panel.
That panel was amazing. I was like, well, that was short-lived because
I cheered. That was moment number one that I audibly cheered. The book went up in the air.
Yes, because Grail was like, yeah, she never shuts up, does she? And I'm like, oh my god, she just murdered her. It was so cold-blooded. And then she took the baby and
World Star.
Pretty much. She took the baby and she sucked the anti-life equation, which I'm like, okay, this baby is ridiculous. First off, because it literally just sucked the power out of everybody.
We're gonna ignore the inconsistencies here for a little bit, because that I was starting to have problems.
I was
with
like, oh, they just point this baby at anybody. It's like, oh, your power's gone now. But before we get to the point of what happens after the baby, so you know how Jessica Cruz has been, taken over by Power Ring. And Victor is in there helping her out, and like this I've been waiting to see how this was going to work out the entire time. Yeah. So before the Grail uses the baby to take the power from Steve Trevor, she uses it on the Flash, who has been merged with the Black Racer. Well, you know how it's supposed to steal powers. Well, the Black Racer's like, look, I'm not just some power that you can steal. What the hell is wrong with you? And so it splits the Black Racer and the Flash finally. And Grail's like, well, shit. You should kill stuff now because that's what you're supposed to do. How about you kill the guy who pissed you off, which is the Flash?
Yeah, she specifically sends him after the Flash. Like literally says, "Murder the Flash."
Yep.
Or kill the Flash, and you see this, like you see the look on everyone's faces. And then Flash just takes off running, and you see the panel as she says it. Her words are elongated across that panel as Flash takes off, and Black Racer is right behind him.
It's a beautiful panel. It's like this book it's really well done in a lot of spots.
Yeah, it's just absolutely nuts. Now, how they get around that, because the Black Racer can't disappear until he's killed.
Yeah, until somebody dies by his hand. That's the only way his job is fulfilled until the next time it's supposed to happen.
So good old Cyborg.
Oh, Cyborg. Victor, I can kiss him.
Is hacking in. He's hacking into the ring and tells Jessica she'll have control for like a split second.
Literally like a second.
Before Power Ring gets control again. And she's like, that's fine. Like, and she already understands what she has to do, even though we haven't quite grasped it yet.
Right. And this was a really cool scene because Victor, he's like hacking into it, like, in ones and zeros. But then he's like, there's something else here. There's a different type of numerical breakdown that I don't understand. And he translates it to fear. It is literally fear. It is a power ring that is fear, which was really, really weird to me. But it was really cool at the same time. And Jessica's like, look, we don't have time to be scared. Like, we have to do this. And that's when you can tell that her willpower was overcoming this ring, which made it accessible for Victor to hack it in the first place, which was really cool. Because at the time, everybody thought that Jessica was a traitor because she just took this ring, and it's not actually a Green Lantern ring. It's not. And this is when we learned that it's not a Green Lantern ring. And so, this entire time she thought she was like a Green Lantern, but no, she was not. This is not a Green Lantern ring. It is it's technically it's a ring of fear. That's what it is. It's just disguised as a Green Lantern ring.
And so she throws herself into the path of the Black Racer, but the Power Ring takes control of the body again right as it happens. So she's the one who actually dies.
Yep.
Even the Justice League thinks it's Jessica. Obviously, the Syndicate can't believe what just happened.
Okay, so the Syndicate is a little slim right now. It's a little thin pickings for the the Syndicate.
It's basically Owlman and oh god, I forget what alternate cyborg is.
Is it Voltham?
Something
similar to that.
They're basically the only ones left at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. Because I was getting really tired of that. So you have all this, this insanity.
It's Grid.
Grid. All right, you have all this insanity going on. I think my favorite scene in the entire book, though, Hal Jordan takes off.
Holy crap! Yeah,
he takes off the Green Lantern ring.
Well, this is after. So how the baby Grail is using the baby to suck the power out of all of the Justice League. They had the power of the gods, the dark side powers. She finally gets to Batman because, of course, it's like, oh yeah, we have to take that from Batman. But you could still forcibly use the chair, which is not good for you because it'll kill you. And so what Josh is about to get into with the ring was really cool.
The Justice League's trying to get Bruce to get off the chair. Literally, they're like, Bruce, get your butt up. Like, literally, like, these are actual words being said to him. And Bruce doesn't want to. His ego is taking control, essentially. He doesn't want to leave the Mobius chair. He also can't. And so Hal Jordan determines, if he take his Green Lantern ring could provide that spark to get him off. And so he takes off the Green Lantern ring, even though, Batman knows like that's going to make him vulnerable. They have a very touching scene between the two. I actually, and this is really weird for me to say, because I'm not attached to Hal Jordan at all. And I couldn't particularly care less what happens to Bruce Wayne either. I teared up a little bit. It was a very touching moment between the two, just in the middle of all this chaos. Wonder Woman the whole time is fighting Grail. She's busy, having her own touching moment with Grail's mother.
Which was, that was actually some of my favorite parts. The Wonder Woman dialogue throughout the entire book was some of my favorite.
All this stuff, Wonder Woman's basically the de facto narrator of the whole book. And when Hal does that, Grail's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. That was a mistake. I'm gonna kill you now.
Like, oh my God, she's just like she is relentless. Like she wants to see every single member of the Justice League dead. She does not care.
And then the Green Lantern Corps. That was the second moment that I lost my absolute shit.
Yeah, that moment was short-lived, though.
It was short-lived, but I was like, oh, it's on now.
But the other moment that I really liked was, because I don't know if that happened about the same time or not, when Big Barter came back.
Yep, it was about the same time.
Yeah, Big Barter shows up with the Furies, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing! Because they came out of nowhere.
So much is happening.
Yeah, there's so much happening. There's so many people.
The Justice League, is battered, and there's this full spread panel of them and the Green Lantern Corps and Superman leading them in.
Yep, and then so okay, I hate to laugh, but the words that were on that page were we were never gods, but Batman is still on the Mobius chair.
there's so much of this that I just could not believe. It was abnormally cheesy at times, but
It's
man,
so good
the
though.
issue was so good. So
This is a goddamn comic book, and it sticks to that. It is great.
trying to wrap up the synopsis of this, I guess. The baby is actually revealed to be the reincarnation of Darkseid.
Yep, it's Darkseid. She brought him back to life. The man that she hated her entire life, she decided to bring him back under her control. We're talking about Grail as her.
Grail is insane, and it is an amazing addition to the universe.
Mm-hmm.
She will be around for she'll be around for a very long time to come.
Yep.
And when she tries to kill Wonder Woman again,
yep.
Her mom steps in the way. Or no.
Yeah, Grail's mom. Yeah, it's Grail's
mom. Okay. And it's just, man, there's so many panels in this where it's hard. It's hard to read. It's touching. It's heartfelt. She's consumed by this rage and this anger.
Yeah, because it's like Grail is the child of war, essentially.
Yeah,
like that's what she knows. That's what she learned, and she was like, she blamed her mom because she was like, you raised me to start this war.
Yeah,
and she was like, well, I raised you wrong. I raised you to end wars by starting wars, and that's not how this works. That's not how the Amazons taught us. She was like, I did this wrong, and I'm really sorry. Pretty much is what happens. The words are way more touching than that, but
just a brief synopsis. So, in the end, Grail's mother is dead. She's dead.
Yeah.
And Grail is gone. She disappears with the child.
Well, that's revealed later that because when Grail shot through her mom, she positioned herself to that she would shoot Darkseid. The only way for it to be the cycle to be broken was for Grail, which is now a part of the anti-life equation, to sort of end it, connect with the anti-life equation. There's a big explosion. Mm-hmm. Grail's gone. Darkseid is gone. Her mom is dead. And we're like, well, what do we do now?
And this is where we get to the revelations that lead us straight into Rebirth. So we're just going to naturally flow into that, I think.
Yeah, so this is after that we found out that the League realized that Jessica's life wasn't taken by the Racer, but it was Volthoom's, and so Jessica Cruz is alive, and then all of a sudden a Green Lantern ring flies down. It's like, hey, you've been chosen. And so now she's an official Green Lantern.
And that was my third audibly cheering moment.
Oh my God, Jessica is fantastic.
I've said it several times here and on the main show. I love Jessica Cruz. Mm-hmm. I am all for this. She's the reason I'm picking up Green Lanterns when it comes out. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the author because he ruined Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde for me.
Oh, I didn't know you could never trust him again.
Yeah, well, he's writing Jessica Cruz, so I have to.
Oh boy,
I have to put my faith in the man who now has an exclusive DC retainer.
Oh boy.
Because I love Jessica Cruz that much. That happens. We find out that the identity of the first man to ever be among the Amazons.
Yes, and it was a baby, and that baby was born the same time as Wonder Woman, her twin brother, Jason. We don't know shit about Jason.
No. That's presumably going to be the major mystery driving
the Wonder Woman book.
Rucka's Wonder Woman book. Mm-hmm. That made me even more excited than I already was for that book, because that book also in the solicitations we found out is going to have two storylines going concurrently.
Yeah, okay.
With two different artists.
Goodness gracious.
But it's...
Yeah, so it's pretty much, it's going to be her finding her brother, and then her also finding and unearthing the lies of the Amazon island, because that was also what was told to her before Grail's mother died. She told her pretty much all the secrets of the Amazon island.
It's going to be really cool. I think Wonder Woman's been a consistently strong book for a long time, but I really think this could usher in a brand new era for her as a character and really build up that part of the DC universe.
I'm excited. I'm excited about Rucka's run. It should be really, really good.
Now, for the kind of the final mic drop on all of this, One of the big things that was being teased about Justice League 50 was that we would get the identity of the Joker.
Sorry, I laughed. It's only because
I'm gonna rant here for a minute.
Yeah.
From the second this was announced, we were like, "There's no way this does not come out as a gimmick. This is only being used to drive sales." And nothing else. There's no reason to reveal the identity of the Joker.
Yep.
And it was worse than I could have imagined.
I don't even think it was worse. It was just literally like, yeah, we just wanted you guys to buy and read the book.
Yep, it was there. It was there. That was in the solicitation to draw in the hardcore Batman fanboys.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some of the reactions from them, and they're like, seriously, what the hell? What was this? It's a scene between Hal Jordan and Batman are talking.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks him, he confronts him. He goes, I heard you ask the Mobius.
They're friends now, just so you know.
Yeah. I heard you ask the Mobius chair, what is his name? And Batman reveals that there's 3 Jokers.
3. The chair told him that there were 3.
3. Uno, dos, tres. I think Ray had the best the best reaction to this. He retweeted something that said, I love how the world's greatest detective couldn't figure out that there were 3 different Jokers. And then Ray said, world's goodest detective.
Yep, Batman is officially the world's goodest detective.
This is officially just the biggest. If I was a hardcore Batman fanboy, I would feel ripped off right now.
I don't understand it.
That is a gimmick through and through, because you're still going to have to tell us who the Jokers are.
Right, like, who are there? Are you going to find out there's some, like, when he found out what Batman was, he decided he wanted something like that for Jokers. It's really weird.
Here's the problem. You can tell this decision did not come from Scott Snyder. You can tell this decision might not even come from Jeff Johns. This might have been a directive from on high. If it was from Jeff Johns, I have a lot more questions for him. I'm actually long-term worried about this. I think it would have been it wouldn't have been as bad if you had just said, this is the Joker's identity and left it at that. Now with 3 Jokers, you're going to have to reveal those identities. That's 3 letdowns you're going to have, because there's no single person in Batman mythos that is the joke that could end up being the Joker that is going to have an impact.
See,
the thing about the Joker is he's menacing because you don't know who he is.
Right. And I kind of feel like it would. I was expecting something like, and this is me being completely hypothetical and kind of like dreaming, that the Joker was this, not even like essentially a spirit, but it was more so a force that would literally take a person and manifest itself in this body. It's not even a person anymore. It's not even
that far-fetched. He's used the Lazarus pit.
Right, exactly. Which is why I was like, it should literally just be a force of chaos and, like, ridiculousness is what I thought that the Joker was going to be. And I thought the chair told him that he doesn't have a name. Like, he is no, like, and then it would have been cool for it to say it is no one person. It could be whoever it wants and how many it wants. That would have been really cool.
That would have been amazing. I agree. That is the only explanation now that I think I would not have been upset about. I'm not a Joker fanboy. I like Batman a decent amount. I'm not a Joker fanboy. I'm a bigger fan of the rest of Batman's rogues gallery. I think the Joker's been played out. It's just this felt gimmicky to me, and that's not the only time I'm going to use that in this section.
I don't know. I like Batman's new suit. That's about all I can say. I like it a lot. The suit looks really cool.
The final pages of the epilogue. Owlman is in the Mobius chair.
Oh yeah, so that's what happened. So I guess we have to kind of go back and cover that. So once Hal Jordan,
we do, because we're not launching in the Rebirth quite yet.
So once Hal Jordan forces the Green Lantern ring on to Batman, he pretty much flies off the chair, and they're like, "Oh my God, we can't believe that!" Pretty much, I can't believe that worked. And then they get distracted because the whole dark side thing happens, and they're like, "Oh crap!" And then Owlman's like, "Ha ha, I got you! I was waiting the entire time. The chair is mine." And so Grid abandons Cyborg's body and pretty much kind of downloads himself into the chair, I guess. And then
that's the impression that I got.
Owlman and the chair disappear, and we're like, well, shit. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I thought they were just gonna like leave that and be like, oh, we'll come back to that in like a couple of years.
Pretty much. I thought so too. I thought that was like, well, that'll be an arc that we come to later on. It'll be a really cool like reveal. But no, it's addressed almost immediately because now we're in the epilogue after we find out that Wonder Woman has a brother named Jason, and Owlman
and the Joker.
Yes, and after all the Joker fun stuff, we find out that Owlman, for some reason, went to the moon, and he's up there with I think is his name Metron or Mobius?
It's not Mobius.
So it's Metron.
It's Metron. It's definitely not Mobius. I'll tell you that right now.
Right. So, sorry, he got murdered.
He's in the Mobius chair.
Yes. So Metron shows Owlman how to use the chair properly because Batman never learned how to use it properly, which is why it was kind of like killing him at the same time. And so he's like, all right, so you can only seek certain, like, he's like, it's pretty much like knowledge is, honestly. It's like you can ask questions, but don't learn too much and don't try to learn everything. Because that's just not how it works. And then so Owlman's like, I'm stronger than Batman. I'm smarter than him. I want to know everything. And the chair, he's like, he tells the chair to tell him everything. And all of a sudden, the chair freaks out, and then Owlman freaks out, and we're like, what? Why is it like this? Is the weirdest like we've ever like. He's legitimately terrified, and we're like,
and for a character that's as psychopathic as him, this is astonishing.
This is huge. It's like he freaks out. His face is like, oh, he's here, and we're like, well, who the fuck is here? And then you turn the page, and it's just the Mobius chair covered in bloodstains and two piles of ash, and then it's just pretty much, it says to be continued in Rebirth #1, and that's when I audibly gasped and threw my hands over my head like, what the just happened? That was awesome. I don't know what to expect.
It was awesome because it finally clears us of Earth 3.
Right.
You know, I like visiting with those characters, but this arc, at least for now, seemingly has killed all of them off, which, with the exception of Grid, if Grid really is in the chair,
right?
Which is nice. We can't go back and use those. We can't use them. You know, we're going to be forced to develop new adversaries or have, you know, they're just not fighting their evil doppelgangers anymore. So Rebirth #1,
well, in a way.
Oh my God, we'll talk about that.
We'll get there. We'll kind of speed through this so we can get to that. Oh my goodness.
Right. We're gonna speed through this. Rebirth #1. We had to deconstruct everything in Darkseid War
because there was a lot. There was a lot there.
There is. Rebirth #1, ironically, is longer, but will be a lot easier to talk about until the end. So Rebirth #1 kicks off with a narration, and then you realize pretty soon it's Wally West.
Yes, it's the original Wally West.
Yeah, we haven't seen this Wally West in quite some time,
and he knows that. Like he's aware of that.
He's aware of that. The best way I can liken him is to, if you've ever read Marvel: The End, the alternate reality thing where the Marvel Universe literally came to an end, and Adam Warlock existed outside of reality. This is probably the closest I can get to that.
Okay.
To an extent. To an extent. There's really been, I really don't remember a story ever being like this. You know, Silver Surfers existed outside of time before, and a few others, but
Thanos.
This is different, though.
Right.
He's able to observe and see everything that's happening, and is desperately trying to find heroes that he knows. The first one he goes to is Batman. He finds Batman. He's able to materialize himself enough and gets through, and Batman does not remember him.
Right.
Wally, we find out, needs somebody to remember him so he can exist again. It's another Flashpoint style story, almost.
Well, I mean,
it's a play on Flashpoint, and Flashpoint's very important.
It's a legit sequel to Flashpoint in my mind.
You need that Rebirth. The best way we can describe it right now is it is the direct sequel to Flashpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The New 52, think of that as a breather, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
between Flashpoint and Rebirth. And, you know, we see, so it's really heartbreaking to see everything that Wally goes through.
I know. It made me sad. I was like, oh, Wally, I remember you. Come back, Wally. I remember you. You were my favorite Flash.
Like, to see everything he's going through. I always forget her name.
Linda?
What?
Linda?
Linda.
Yeah.
Linda. Yes. I've always read more Barry Allen.
That's okay.
Linda in his scene is so heart-wrenching.
I feel so bad for him. I was like, oh, wow.
He comes through and he's trying to get her to remember him, and she doesn't know him. She doesn't remember him. And he starts to fade away at that point. That was his last greatest chance. You know, he's observing all these heroes, you know, noting all these abnormalities that we've noticed throughout the New 52.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I mean, he explains it a little early on that in between Flashpoint and now, there were 10 years that was stolen from the timeline. They don't exist anymore because they were stolen from the timeline. But because he exists outside of time and as a part of the Speed Force, he was able to see it, and he knows because he was there before it was stolen.
Yeah, and it's just finally the person he gets through to as he's literally disintegrating.
Like he's about to fade out of all of existence and become one with the Speed Force.
Is Barry Allen.
Yes, which was so awesome. Oh my God.
And that moment, oh dude, that almost hit me harder than the Linda moment.
Although there was this
when Barry finally remembers, Barry Allen literally crumbles to the ground because he can't believe
he's crying because now he's like remembering, holy shit, it's Wally West. You know, this is my nephew that like just completely forgot about, you know? And he's like flipping out. There is a weird like the way that scene is drawn makes me think that there's going to be something interesting that happens in a Flash comic that I don't know if I want to share just yet. I'll talk with you about it here in a bit, Josh. It kind of confirms something for me. So
I just, you get through that. He starts reiterating, you know, he has this fear. He's like, you know, new heroes are rising up, and then there's old one, you know, and the old guard is still here. There's basically there's a lot of work to be done. There's this unseen villain that is pulling all these strings. And he's like, and you know, Barry's first instinct is, oh God, it's Reverse Flashback.
Yeah, he thinks that it's Reverse Flash. He's like, no, there's no way.
No, he's like, no, it's worse than the Reverse Flash. It's someone we've never faced before who is literally destroying us out of existence. He's the one who stole the 10 years. He's the one who's caused us to forget each other, this and that.
Yeah, she said that he's poisoned time.
Yeah, he's poisoned time. He's deconstructing it, essentially. Now, remember, that this is very, very important, and why, if you've never read Flashpoint, stop what you're doing, go read it right now.
Yes, Flashpoint is crucial to all of these things.
At the end of Flashpoint, towards the end, there's a scene when Barry is in the he's there and he sees the merging of the timelines, and you get this implication that, okay, maybe these other things that DC publishes could cross over eventually.
Yes,
and they never acted on that. So you flip, you're in the final pages of the book at this point, and you see a really familiar panel. You see Mars.
Yep, you see Mars. Well, was the Batman scene before or after that? The Batman scene was before.
Batman scene was before.
Because
you see Batman is, Wally West's narration is still going on. At something, and he finds this button in the wall of the Batcave, and it's the button of the Watchman.
It's the Watchman logo
with the blood on it and everything.
Yep.
And then you turn the page and you see the familiar Mars landscape. You see this watch being deconstructed, and there's lines from Watchmen of Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias talking. At that point, I said, I was going to use the word gimmick one more time, and it's right now.
And this is where I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna let you go, but
you and I are absolutely going to disagree on this. I've been really open about my love for The Watchmen. Aside from The Dark Knight Returns, it's the best graphic novel. It's quite possibly the best comic that's ever been written.
I would
there's
say
a reason.
The best graphic novel.
There's a reason why best literary works of the 1900s, when there was lists compiled, it was the only comic to appear on there. There are reasons why. It literally transcends comic books and ascends into a literary pantheon because of what it represented and what still represents today. When DC has owned it, they offered Alan Moore the rights back to these characters years ago. 2009, 2010. He had been asking for them about 10, 15 years before, and DC said no. DC offered them back. He said, no, I don't want them now. He, of course, hates all his old work because he's... DC went and did Before Watchmen, and if you've ever picked up an issue of that, it was awful. Awful. It was them trying to tell another story set in the Watchmen universe, and it was an excuse to get revenue off these characters after they'd done the movie, after they'd done a couple of games, things like that, and they knew it would sell because it was the Watchmen name. If I see anything with the Watchmen name, I'm going to go buy it if it's a new comic. Are you kidding me? I don't care if Alan Moore didn't write it. It's Watchmen. It's an excuse to be with Dr. Manhattan. It's an excuse to be with Night Owl, with Silk Spectre, with the comedian, with Rorschach. Rorschach is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. It's an excuse to see these guys again. For us now to be bringing Dr. Manhattan and I'm going to go ahead and just say Ozymandias in as agonists.
Are they really antagonists though? We don't.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm going to get at. If they really are antagonists, because Wally perceives them as antagonists.
Yes.
He perceives, and we don't know. I have my own theory that I think Ozymandias actually appears outright in Rebirth. I think he actually appears outright in one of the scenes, which we'll address here in a second. Feels just like a super big gimmick to me now, because that's going to draw in people who otherwise wouldn't care, because now when they finally reveal it, they can bill it as the return of the Watchmen. And I'm sorry, that seems like it could be, and I will fully admit, this could be incredible. This is unprecedented, okay? Unprecedented move in storytelling. But at the same time, you're running the risk of ruining the legacy of one of the greatest stories, not just in comics, but in literature that has ever been told.
See, and I think the otherwise. I think that Watchmen has such a high pedigree that no matter what they do, they can't smear that name. They can't. Because if you ever just go back to the source material, you can see how good it is. If anything, they have to try really hard to even get remotely close to living up to what that was, So I feel like they're not gonna kind of bill it as the return of the greatest comic book series ever. I think it's just more.
Have you read DC lately?
I think it's more they're trying to build it as though we have these amazing characters and we want to, bring them back into the universe fold. We want to make this universe whole and we want to add them to that universe, which I think that they do have a place in that universe because
absolutely.
This creates a spot for them to kind of do deeper storytelling with deeper characters, in my opinion. So this is a tough one. We don't even know if we're going to get all of them. We might just be getting Dr. Manhattan, and that's about it.
I think at this point it's a given that you're going to get Manhattan. Given the dialogue that they copy from the Watchmen book at the end of Rebirth,
I told you I guessed it early on when the second person was killed by this person who was chasing people. The way that they were killed was very, very, very kind of iconic to the way the enemies of Dr. Manhattan ended up.
Yep.
He,
When I went back and reread it after seeing the ending, even before you told me, I did notice the similarities in how Wally West starts disintegrating. Same. It was the same as the death of Rorschach, and it was. Yeah, even looking at the Rebirth special, when you look at the cover, the heroes their arms are all outstretched towards this blue light, and there's a singular hand coming through it. That is the one thing that makes me think Manhattan might not be a true antagonist.
Right.
That this is going to take a long time to play out. DC's been very clear that Rebirth is going to be probably about a 2-year story that's going to play out. I'm excited to see where this goes. I will admit, the Rebirth special did what it needed to do with me, and it sold me on Rebirth. I was really down on it. I was only going to pick up the Rucka Wonder Woman. I was going to pick up a couple of the one-shots. I was going to pick up, whatever book Jessica Cruz appeared in, and that was about it. I was telling Ray earlier, I have 8 titles that I will pick up guaranteed, not just the number ones, but that I will pick up in the ongoing series for a minimum of 5 or 6 issues to try out. DC's shifting a lot of their books to a bi-monthly schedule now, twice a month.
Which is great. And they're going to be
every issue is now $2.99.
Which I think is also great.
I think it's great, but I also hate that it's kind of a dick move that they're putting it out twice a month now.
I mean, it's just like, hey, we lowered our prices so you could afford to buy them twice a month, right?
I do like it. I can't really disagree with that. If there's a bunch of books that I like, man, I will say I'm really excited. But the biggest thing that gives me the pause is when characters, whoever ends up writing them, I hope that justice is done. Presumably, they're going to play out in 2 books, in my opinion. In Justice League, of course. Justice League is always going to be the flagship book of DC. And Titans. The solicitation for Titans directly says Wally West reassembles the Titans. The Titans remember they remember who he is, and that they seek out the person who is dismantling the universe.
I'm really excited.
Stole the 10 years.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. That I will be completely honest. That solicitation made Titans go straight to my number 1. My number 1 most anticipated now out of any new book coming from DC is now not Teen Titans.
Titans. And that's because
Dick Grayson and Wally West are back together.
They're back together. I'm like, this is great. I'm really expecting that to be a fantastic book.
I am too. You look at the creative team on that. I'm excited too. It's oh my god, it's going to be good. The Rebirth special, despite my
overall thoughts on Rebirth.
Complaint.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I really did. I don't want to make it seem like I'm down on it. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved that it was all around Wally West. My only they're not even complaints. They're critiques, I guess you could say. They're critiques and they're slight fears for long-term storytelling. 1, Watchmen characters not being written by Alan Moore. You and I both love J. Michael Straczynski, writer of Before Watchmen, and it was terrible. I'm really. It's good, where it's going to sound weird. There's 2 people just writing these characters, and Jeff Johns. And I don't feel like either of them is the right fit for Watchmen. Pleasantly surprised. I want them to bring them into the main universe. If I get Rorschach resurrected, I will lose. There's so many cool storytelling possibilities that I can't be mad. I'm cautious. I'm cautiously optimistic of what this could mean. And then my second one is just I don't want Rebirth to turn into a Flashpoint. That it's essentially a sequel, and I think Titans is going to be the true sequel to that. How that plays out, issue. that that's how it's going to be perceived. I don't want this to play out as a Flashpoint, you know, we're going to do a complete do-over, because there's a lot of nods to this in this book that they know that they messed up. They know that happy. They like directly tongue-in-cheek reference some of those complaints. I want to see them follow through. I want to see DC follow through and acknowledge they made some mistakes, fix those while still pushing us forward.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel like the New 52 is going to be completely retconned by the end of this.
I don't know about completely.
I think a significant chunk of it is going to be retconned or at least undone. When I read that, and it said, when I read the part where it described the 10 years that were taken away, I was kind of like, well, then what the hell has everything since the New 52 been for then?
It was them living a life without that 10 years is pretty much what it was.
And now it makes sense, but let me rephrase that. It makes sense with that explanation. Mm-hmm. But now I'm forced to wonder, what was the point of doing a New 52 in the first place? Because like we said, there is no way this was planned.
No, I don't think so.
This was in no way planned, and that's why I feel like the inclusion of Dr. Manhattan is cheap. A little bit of a, you know, it feels like a sales gimmick. To me, it feels like the Joker 2.0, the Joker reveal 2.0, and we got them both on the same day, so I felt totally betrayed.
No. I feel like this had way more impact than the Joker reveal.
Oh, it had more impact. There's no doubt about that. Time will tell if this was a gimmick or not.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's just
if this is done right, this will be legend.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Legend. This will join the ranks of Crisis on Two Earths, of Final Crisis, the Flashpoint Paradox. This will join those legendary ranks of DC storylines.
This is what we're hoping.
Rebirth has the potential to do it. I hope it does. There's so many interesting storylines coming out of not only the end of the Darkseid War, this, man. Thoughts on Rebirth?
Rebirth. First off, I gave them an A+ because they brought back Johnny Thunder as an old man. I was like, oh my God, that's Johnny fucking Thunder. It took me a minute, but I was like, no, that's Johnny Thunder. When he mentioned the GD, I was like, that's Johnny Thunder. So I was like, oh my Lord, that was awesome. This book is just, I thought it did a really good job of approaching the universe from a character standpoint that I didn't think that they could pull off. They managed to bring in a character that from the outside of time was looking in and seeing what was happening and could tell you what happened. And it all made it feel coherent. It was a cohesive story. And Josh, I cannot say that I have said that about many DC comic books in a very, very long time. And this is why I'm looking forward to Rebirth so much. It's just because from this, I'm like, oh my God, these are all stories that will have a beginning, a middle, and an end at some point. And they will all be really good. At least in theory, they will be good.
I guess, and I like that you said that, because that's my hope with Rebirth, is that it will make this universe easier to understand.
Right. You know, yes.
Unify everything. Like, fine with a multiverse, but timelines, please.
Just like, it's just like, yeah, just make, I don't even care if you unify them, just make them make sense in the same breath. If I'm talking about this, I should be able to explain to somebody else how it makes sense, you know? And yeah, sometimes that may be on me because I don't know as much as I should, but there really shouldn't be that much to it, in my honest opinion. It's looking like with this, I will be able to, somebody who is like, I really want to start reading comic books again. I really liked DC back in the day. Will I be able to enjoy this? And I'm hoping to say with a smile on my face, yes, welcome back to comic books. Go grab you some Rebirth and these few other books. You know what I mean? Because it'll make sense. They'll be able to read it and be like, oh crap, this is cool. How to learn more about blah, blah. I'm like, well, you read these books here. And it's just, you can go forward from there. Overall, Rebirth, I really, really liked this book. Like, I liked it. a lot, and it's a really good setup for what I don't think is necessarily Flashpoint 2.0, but it nods to Flashpoint, and is that its roots are in Flashpoint. And I think this will be the first time in a while where there's been an event where it's not like just an event and then everything is changed forever. This is a story that has a really big, like, it's a big explosion, and everything after that is not just the fallout, it's just smaller explosions. Does that make sense? Until we get to the really big conclusion at the end, where we find out what was actually going on and everything. Which, you know, in DC fashion will blow up, and we'll learn that there's something else instead of just an ending. As evident by what Justice League Darkseid War did like 3 times.
Right. Well, like, I mean, that's one of the reasons why you and I recommended Darkseid War so much, was because old, long, cohesive story, and it's going to have impact for years and years to come in this universe on directly out of it. You know, and in Rebirth, the Rebirth special is obviously going to have all these different events reverberating. You know, Darkseid War directly set up the impact of several of these ongoing series now. That plays out, as opposed to Convergence, which had no consequence whatsoever and was billed as like the biggest event we've ever done.
I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened, Josh.
You know, and let's not, you know, Marvel's not immune to any of that. You know, Marvel had events for years that were absolute. Yep. You know, after Civil War, you know, oh, cool, we did Secret Invasion. I don't think they had another good.
I think technically my favorite one was probably just,
and then Secret Wars.
I think my favorite one. Honestly, I would think that Secret Invasion was my favorite. Technically,
I like Secret Invasion because it changed the status quo.
Right, exactly.
It did something that had never been done, and that's what a comic event should do. We shouldn't have these massive crossovers every year. Or, you know, we don't always need these year-long stories. You know, we've been insanely lucky that we had Secret Wars, and then we got Darkseid War within the same year.
Right. Which they're both really good, if you ask me. Well, at least the conclusion of both were really good.
Universe forever. They both lagged a little in the middle too.
Yeah, they did.
Culmination of what will go down as legendary runs for their respective main franchises. You know, Jeff Johns' Justice League is the stuff of legend now. Hickman's Avengers, I don't know if any writer will ever top his work he did simultaneously on Avengers and New Avengers. You know, we've said that a lot. It's time to be a fan. I will say one last thing, though. If somebody's looking to jump into DC Comics for the first time, I would not recommend them pick up the Rebirth special as their first issue.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of threads that somebody was like, "Hey, I want to come back to comic books, and I want to read this Rebirth stuff. Where should I start?" And I saw a lot of people say,
"Start with the new number ones."
A lot of people saying like, "Yeah, start with Rebirth." Blah, blah, blah. No, do not start with Rebirth. Do not do that. After you read the number, I think you could start the number ones, each individual number one. Start there, but do not start Rebirth. Do not start with Rebirth. Don't do that.
I said this to someone in our group. He was like, "Hey, you know, I think it was Michael. Michael, one of our group members, said, hey, I want to pick up the Rebirth special. I want to know what everybody's talking about. I don't really read DC that much, though. You know, what is there that's required reading?" And I was like, well, you know, because he picked it up and read it. He and I were talking this morning. I said he caught the Flashpoint references. I said definitely Flashpoint. Flashpoint, the Darkseid War, is a good idea. Not required, but it is a very good idea. If you've already read the other stuff, you might as well pick that up too, so you're not totally lost. And after that, just dive in with the number ones. That is the best place you can go to.
I would say the Darkseid War, but the one shots first and foremost.
Yes.
Like those one shots actually do help you understand what's happening in the Darkseid War.
Yeah, it's one of the few events where you need to read the tie-ins. I mean, man, other than that, it was so well done. And it did what I feared it was going to fail to do, which is get me excited. It got me excited for this new direction. So before we spin out and get to our last two topics, do you have anything else to say on this, Ray?
Rebirth is exactly what I expected it to be. I'm glad that DC and Jeff Johns actually they took a big risk with this, I think, and hopefully it pays off for them because I thought it was really good. As a comic book fan, I had a really good time. So let's hope that the rest of it is just as good of a time.
That's probably the best way to sum it up. So Ray,
yes, Josh.
Side of things, we've got their big event for the year brewing.
Oh yes, good old Civil War II.
Civil War II, which neither you or I is super hot on.
That's a terrible name. First off,
we've said repeatedly we'd be much more excited if it was a different name.
Yep.
The name alone almost kills it for us.
Had it been called anything else, I would have been way okay. Issue 0 was good.
Issue 0 was kind of cool. I liked it.
We talk. I don't know why people are gonna get mad at us because we say this every time. It was like, it was good not to see Thor and Iron Man and Captain America. Because it was good to not see them. It was good to see the characters that are actually going to be the main focus of this event, which is She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Ulysses, and War Machine, Rhodey. It was good to kind of see them in the calm before the storm, because it's about to get ugly real quick. So,
yeah, we saw that with the Free Comic Book Day.
Yes, we saw that. And so this was a really good story builder. That's exactly what this was. This was the story building book. You kind of saw the very beginning of what these characters have been going through in the meantime, anyway, since the universe has been rebooted, essentially. But then you have this new Inhuman that is I like to call him he's living Minority Report, except with the future. He can literally just see the future, and we don't know how far it is. His powers go. We don't know if it's just events or if it's just straight up the future. If he can just see any point in the future that he decides to, when he can learn how to control it. But so far, it's just been in spurts that he can see the future, and it's not good. It's not good at all. So I don't know. I find myself really, really enjoying Carol Danvers and Rhodey. I really like that, but I know that it's going to be short-lived for the sake of story, which makes me sad.
Yeah, I really my favorite part of this whole book were the courtroom scenes with Jennifer.
Yes.
Those I'm a Daredevil guy, so I like seeing the Matt Murdock courtroom scenes a lot. That's always been one of my critiques of the show, is we don't get nearly enough of the courtroom drama. It's really, really well done. And something I got to note right off the bat, too, is the art. The art style is just fantastic.
It is great.
The art's... Marvel is continuing to prove they can do these big events without having to have Steve and Tony in every single issue at the forefront. Obviously, we know Tony's going to play a really big part in this.
Yes.
But this whole issue, they get through it without him. And it's really, really, really nice to see that.
It is nice to see that, but I'm also kind of curious as to how he gets to where he is, I'm
almost a little afraid to find that out at this point. But I think for a first issue, even it's called Civil War 0, I think it was really solid.
This is 0 squared, technically, after Free Comic Book Day.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I was I could have sworn they just gave me Civil War 0 for free with the same cover art, too.
And then they charged me $5 for this one. So I'm mad at you, Marvel. I'm mad at you.
These are not the same events either. Let's be abundantly clear on that one. I think it's going to be a decent event. This first issue and the Free Comic Book Day issue really did a lot towards soothing my fears on it. But I'm not going to be quick to say, oh, it's going to be the best thing ever, because live up to the bar that Marvel just set for themselves.
Yep.
They had two back-to-back, well, not even back-to-back, but they had two events in close proximity to each other with Infinity and with Secret Wars. So live up to. It's Bendis, so people aren't going to give him the benefit of the doubt that they did Jonathan Hickman on both of those. People complain like, oh, why can't they just give every event to Hickman? I'm pretty sure Hickman's living in somewhere right now because he's afraid of having to write Avengers yet again. Man, Bendis is soothing my fears that this was just a quick cash in on the movie name.
I hope not. I really at this point I can't really say. I really don't want to say much more. Is because I really have to see where it's going. They haven't given us enough. Yeah. Rebirth gave us way more.
They haven't, and I'm having read some of the solicitations now. Reading some of the synopses for the tie-ins that are going to come out this summer. Marvel has a free pamphlet at your local comic book store. It came out today. It's one of their little Daily Bugle things that they do for some of their events.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of cool. It opens up, reads like a little newspaper. I don't have it on me or I'd show it. And in it, it's talking about the different series that are going to tie in. And actually feels a little different. I'm really excited. I'm excited they're bringing the cosmic heroes into this one too. Thanos is going to show up. The Ultimates are obviously back on Earth. Guardians of the Galaxy are going to show up. Rocket Raccoon and Groot are going to have a tie-in. There's going to have a tie-in. There's going to be some really cool stuff that's going to go on with this event. I think the tie-ins might actually be better than the regular series.
Which is what I'm kind of like, yeah, that I feel like that's going to happen.
Man, the X-Men tie-in really has my attention right now.
The one that has my attention is honestly the Kingpin one. I want to read that. I want to know.
I have to know what it's about.
Exactly. I want to know what it's about. I want to read it.
Read at least the first. There's so many of these just have my curiosity aroused. I know Ray and I are both really excited to see Miles and Miss Marvel tie into this.
Yes. I'm excited to see that.
They're literally kids being thrown into this now.
Mm-hmm.
Do they side with their heroes? In Kamala's case, does she side with, Tony Stark and those that she started, her team, or, she go with Captain Marvel, who she idolized, who does she go with? That's going to be a really interesting decision she's going to have to make. Same with Miles, does he side with Tony? Does he go with, and then we know that Peter's with Captain Marvel, does he go over there? It's going to be really interesting to see how they play it. Nova is going to be trying to stay neutral. I don't know how to feel about any of that. I think that the tie-ins are going to be really, really awesome, though.
Yeah, I hope so. But I'm looking forward to seeing more Civil War 2. I don't really have much else to say about it. It was a decent zero issue. Nothing. It's not worth it's not worth $5. I'm still kind of mad about that.
No, it's absolutely not. It's your typical $4 issue. But DC lowering their pricing to $3. I really hope Marvel follows suit, but I
hope that they feel that. I hope that they see that the price does also matter. So
I don't think Marvel will, purely because we get the digital copy with our comics.
That's true, but still.
Yeah, I would rather I would give up the digital copy in order to get my price lowered.
Agreed.
Our final book that we got to talk about, Ray, with big revelations.
One big revelation, and the internet was set ablaze.
I was one of those who was set ablaze. Captain America, Steve Rogers. Of course, Steve was restored to youth with the standoff event that just ended. He is, screw it.
Yes,
we're just going to dive right in.
Spoilers for Captain America #1, or should we really call him Captain America?
I'm pretty sure everybody already knows it's in your freaking Facebook sidebar.
Probably. It is right now. They spoiled it for everybody.
It literally spoils it for you. It didn't spoil Rebirth.
Sorry if you didn't want to know. If you didn't want to know, Facebook ruined it.
They reveal at the end, Captain America reveals that he is an agent of Hydra.
Agent of Hydra? This is my exact same reaction, by the way, when Josh talked, because I looked through, I picked it up off the wall when I was at the shop, and I was like, I flipped, I stopped, because this was actually when I saw that I could get Mockingbird 2 and 3 as well, because they both had restocks of that, and I looked at this Captain America book, and I was like, let me flip through this book real quick, And I was like, nah, and put it back on the wall. And like right as I got outside, Josh messaged me and was like, hey, did you pick up Captain America #1? And I was like, no. Why? He was like, Josh was like, good. I'm glad you didn't get it. I was like, oh no. And so what Josh tells me is a good thing that it picks something up. It's bad.
So I read this. I basically had the same reaction as Ray, except my jaw stayed open for a solid 2 or 3 minutes beforehand. Not in like disbelief, but just like, why? There are subtle hints made to it throughout the whole issue, including a lady coming up to Steve and his mother and handing her a pamphlet that has the Hydra logo on it. Basically, it's implying that he's been a Hydra sleeper agent all along. Marvel doubled down on it. Marvel doubled down on it this morning, saying, yes, it's true. Steve has always been an agent of Hydra. This is not a fake out. This is not a cop out. He literally has always been a Hydra agent.
Wait, whoa. You mean Marvel came out and confirmed that?
Yeah, Marvel straight up, because Nick Spencer, who wrote this, was getting death threats.
Are you shitting me right now? Like they came out and said
people mistakenly sent death threats to Backer, who was like, dude, I don't even write this anymore, but I feel bad for the guy. He's like, I don't even read Captain America anymore. He's like, I'm no stranger to this. I'm the guy who resurrected Bucky.
Are you kidding me?
No, we'll keep talking about this. I'm gonna literally look up the press release right now.
So Captain America has always been an agent of Hydra. Is he also going to pull off his face and be Red Skull? I mean, that's what I want to know now. I don't understand. Like, what's the end game of that? Like, what's the goal?
I don't know. I don't think there is an end game.
I don't get it.
I
laughed because I thought it was like it's hilarious that
Hydra.
Steve has been this perfect Boy Scout of a character for so long that all of a sudden, psych, he's actually the worst person that you could ever imagine him being.
Like after he's been beating the crap out of the Red Skull for 75 years.
Right. He's been opposed to Hydra in every single way, in every bone of his body for all that we've known for most of his adult life. And now all of a sudden he is everything that they wanted him to be.
I will tell you, I would pay to have seen Chris Evans's reaction this morning.
Oh yes, I would have loved to have seen it. Like you remember how they've had the Ben Affleck sad face and the Chris Evans laughing face?
Mm-hmm.
Reverse those faces. now it's Ben Affleck laughing. And Chris Evans like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." Oh man,
I can't believe that this actually happened. It's just
I can believe it. It happened to Peter and it happened to Tony, so I guess it was only about time it did it to somebody really controversial like Captain America.
Yeah, Ray sarcastically said, let's see Captain America now. And I was like, oh, we already got that. It's called Uncanny Avengers.
But yeah, I pay good money for a superior Captain America where he's just legitimately this Hydra agent and an asshole and killing people. I want to see that. Mostly because, I am not the biggest fan of Captain America because now this actually might have made me more of a fan of Captain America because now he has the biggest flaw that nobody ever wanted.
He's a supervillain.
Yep, he's a villain. And I'm like, that's what I'm.
So the direct quote from Nick Spencer, okay, the writer, in his interview with Entertainment Weekly that went live this morning, Issue 2 will lay a lot of our cards on the table in terms of what the new status quo is. But the one thing we can say unequivocally is this is not a clone, not an imposter, not mind control, not someone else active. This really is Steve Rogers, Captain America himself.
So I wonder what was the switch that flipped? What made his Hydra programming start? Or did he just decide to reveal to everybody that he was hydrated? Did Rick Flag find out? And is that what happened? I don't get it. Like I want to know what the motivation is for this suddenly coming to light like this.
they're saying that this story, because it's the same writer who also writes Sam Wilson. They're saying that this is going to have a huge impact on Sam's life, on Sam's story going forward, and how the public sees Sam also now. In Hitchcock fashion, we as the readers are now ahead of all the characters in the Marvel Universe, and we know this while other events are unfolding. Because we know that Cap and are going to have some interactions during the Civil War. So I'm anxious to see how this all plays out, but I'm really scared at the same time now because it's like, this is Captain America. Come on. This isn't like we're doing an Injustice comic or something like that.
This is in the actual continuity of Marvel.
And Nick Spencer went on to say, when he was asked what kind of relationship will Cap have with the new generation of Hydra, he goes, "Well, it's a big part of the story. What Steve's beliefs are about what Hydra should be, where it should go, what it should focus on." God, like these guys are actually this guy is doubling down on it.
I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't know. But I'm going to say real fast though, people on the internet, when something that you pay money for because you like it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go, don't go on the internet and wish death on somebody because of something that you didn't like. Stop being idiots, please. It's a story. It's still fake. We enjoy it, but don't get that bad. There ain't no reason for that. Not at all. So I'm gonna need y'all to calm down.
Exactly. I mean, I'm the first person to say bored with this. I think that this is the third time I'm going to say this is a gimmick. If anything else,
the word of the day, kids, is gimmick.
This solidified why I do not read Captain America regularly.
He's just not a character that I really care for.
This solidified why I don't like Nick Spencer as a writer. Really out of character for Captain America.
It is, and that's what I think he's doing it for. He's doing it because it's completely out of character, and it's something that has not been done with Captain America. It
feels like it was done for shock value. At least when Superior Iron Man was done.
Well, there was an explanation.
It was
there was an explanation. Well, not really. Yeah. It was a complete. There was an explanation, like when they were trying to fix everybody in Uncanny Avengers, and they did the spell.
Yeah.
He was the one person who, he had figured out a way to keep the spell from affecting him, and so he decided to remain evil because, evil Tony wanted to be evil Tony and didn't want good Tony to come back. That was a good explanation. I don't get.
Even though Superior Iron Man was just god awful. So bottom line,
great, but it was good, Josh. God dang it!
It was not.
It was good.
And then Superior Spider-Man. Who was? I think it was William Lever pointed this out to me, or pointed out in the group really, and I happened to gloss over it. I thought Superior Spider-Man was going to be awful and this and that. And I will concede that was actually a really well done story. When that happened, when the first issue happened, I was like, okay, I'm going to wait until this all plays out before I even start trying to read it. Starting to dabble back into comic books. I really didn't want to deal with it at that point. Concede it was really well done. This does not feel like there's any need for this. With Spider-Man, it was different. With Superior Iron Man, there was an explanation. There's no excuse for Captain America to suddenly be a Hydra agent. So that's all I have to say on it. I won't be picking up the next issue, so I don't want to see what cards are on the table.
I'm actually going to buy the second issue because now I want to know.
I hate you.
I want to know.
I hate you so much.
I want to know.
I don't either because it's going to take them 6 or 7 months to play it out, and I'm not giving them another $30 for this story.
I'm going to buy it, and I'll be like, look, I support you, man.
I gave $5 to find Steve saying "Hail Hydra" on a page.
So, I want to cut that out and make it my license picture. Can I do that? I want a picture of Captain America saying "Hail Hydra" as my license picture.
You're dismissed.
Well, to wrap things up, we had a lot to talk about this episode. Justice League 50 was absolutely fantastic. Rebirth #1, a good entry and a good start to the retooled DC. Captain America #1. We'll see how that turns out. We have a lot of other comic books to talk about. Next time we'll have, a regular list to talk to you guys about. We should start getting those new DC #1s coming soon. I know I have them all ordered, and they should be coming to my house when they're out. So I'm ready for this, and I hope that you're ready. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us, and we will definitely try to answer them as best as we can. Comics, there's a lot of comics. There's a lot of material. I don't know everything. Josh doesn't know everything all the time because sometimes he forgets stuff to remember all the stuff that he knows. So thank you for listening to episode 6 of Neek, the Pull List podcast, or we should just rename it to the Justice League Super Show because I think the last 3 titles have been about the Justice League. So this time I'm going to make sure it's not. So thank you so much for listening. Like I said, if you want to get in touch with us, I'm Ray Apollo on Twitter. Josh is
Josh_Finn. That's 2 N's.
Yes. Neek, the podcast, is literally almost everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, the other stuff that I can't even remember right now because I'm getting old. Man, do we have a Snapchat? I'm getting really good at Snapchat.
I'm going to say no.
Dang it. I want to start a Snapchat. Anyway, yes, go and follow all the Neek channels, all of them. Join the discussion group. Like the fan page so you know when all the episodes are coming out because we post them there too. So if you just want to see what episodes are coming out and occasional things that news is catching our eye, go follow the fan page. It's a great place for it. But again, thank you because I can never thank you enough for listening to this show where we talk about the comic books that we've picked up in the past few weeks. I really appreciate it. Again, I am Ray. That's Josh. Keep those pull lists full, and we'll talk with you later.
Bye.